My name's Chef Jason Dady. I'm the chef and owner of Tre Trattoria, where we're at today at the San Antonio Museum of Art.
So what is your position here?
Chef and owner, so I've got a restaurant group that has 7 restaurants right now. We've got 6 restaurants here in San Antonio and 1 in Austin.
So why did you decide to become a chef?
I think I accidentally fell into it. I always had a love for cooking, but when you're a kid and you're in high school, you might not understand that can become a career. And I just kind of was, I decided to go to college and get my degree in restaurant and hotel management, and then from there decided that I did love to cook so much that I wanted to go to culinary school. So I moved to San Francisco and went to culinary school in San Francisco. Looking back, both my grandmothers were amazing cooks and kind of, I think fostered that love of cooking and understanding that it's about hospitality and you're taking care of other people. Professionally, I'm a huge fan of a chef named Daniel Boulud out of New York City. He's just this overwhelmingly warm soul, but an absolutely spectacular cook, and he's got multiple concepts. So I've just tried to kind of shape a lot of what I've done in my career after a chef like that. I was very fortunate that when I worked in San Francisco that I had some really great chefs. Christopher Fernandez, David Frakes are kind of the 2 that I trained under the most. One was at a restaurant called Stars Bar and Dining, and then the other was at Behringer Wine Estates. So, you're only as good as the stepping stones that are provided for you and that you're presented with. So that's always been something very important to me, to kind of follow that same career path and try to be a springboard for a lot of young chefs. My grandparents on my father's side still run and operate a little place called Dad's Tavern. It's kind of an old school little bar that she used to cook. Maybe not so much anymore. She's almost in her 90s and still running and operating, which I think is such an inspiration for somebody that still takes care of people.
Yeah. Do they ever come and visit your restaurants?
Yeah, they do their best. Every time we open a new concept, they try to come down and visit. So, when they're getting up there in the age, so it's a little bit harder for them to travel. But, I think they've always been just kind of mind blown of what we've been able to put together here in San Antonio. We have 7 restaurants right now. We've got 4 of the 7 open, obviously with COVID. So we'll be opening another one in a couple weeks. Range, our steakhouse downtown on the Riverwalk.
Oh, okay.
And then we have a restaurant in Austin and a restaurant in Southtown that we're still kind of working through the details.
So was this your first restaurant opened, or?
This Tre, so it was number 3.
Oh,
so
okay.
The Lodge restaurant of Castle Hills was my first restaurant that we opened, which was a fine dining kind of tasting menu restaurant. So it was either 3-course, 5-course, or 7-course tasting menus.
Yeah.
And then Tre was our 3rd restaurant that we've opened. So we've had this concept for, I think we opened it in 2008. So I guess that's 12 years now.
Oh, wow. So what type of, I know you mentioned you went to school for this, but where did you go and what exactly did you do? I
got my degree first from Texas Tech University. So I got a 4-year bachelor degree in restaurant hotel management. From there, I moved to San Francisco. I spent about 2 years in San Francisco, and I attended the California Culinary Academy. So I was working as I was going to school at that point in time.
That's great.
So you're getting kind of that real life work experience at the same time that you're getting kind of the education from the school. Going to school, you're focusing on the things that are very academic, and then having the opportunity to go do an internship or work in whatever field. It doesn't have to be just culinary. It just expands your knowledge, and at the end of the day, the more you learn, the more you know, the more you're gonna, the better you're gonna do. And so I think it's critically important to try to find a balance of doing both.
So how soon out of getting in college and stuff did you actually be able to open a restaurant?
We were a little bit probably farther ahead of the curve than a lot of people. I was 24 when I opened my first restaurant, so I was only 4 years out of college when we decided to open our first restaurant.
Oh, okay. So are there any moments or accomplishments that really stand out in your career that really make you proud to tell people?
I think, for us, we're a family-owned business. I'm in business with my wife and my brother.
Oh, that's great.
And I think for us, that's something that we're incredibly proud of, is that we've been able to, as a family, build something that's special and that we can, maybe one day pass that on to our children. We've gotten a lot of accolades over the year, but at the end of the day, they're not nearly as important as just being well-balanced, well-rounded, having a happy family life and a happy work life, and then being able to kind of be a springboard for other chefs that have gone on to open their own restaurants is something that we're incredibly proud of, that, people that worked under us and maybe, that we were able to tutor the way to run and operate a business, not just cook, but run a business, has been very fruitful.
So what exactly does your wife help here? Because you mentioned a family business.
Yeah, so my brother and I are more on the kitchen side of
Okay.
everything. My wife is more kind of the accounting, marketing side. So it's kind of, we all have our own little kind of ins and outs of what we're in charge of. She probably has the hardest job of it all, but we've tried to figure out a way to make a nice balance throughout the process.
Okay. Do you have any kids that may want to get into the business once they're old enough?
Yeah, I have 3 kids. I've got a 16-year-old daughter that goes to Clark, and then I've got an 8th grade daughter and a little boy that's in the 5th grade. So, we try not to push our kids into the business if they find a passion for it, because at the end of the day, that's what the most important thing is, that no matter what you end up doing, you need to have a passion for it, and so that you can literally follow your dreams.
Yeah.
What are my favorite things to prepare for myself? I'm a pretty easy diner when I go home, It's a lot of tacos. I love just to make ramen, even, take cheap ramen and try to spruce it up and make it kind of a little bit tastier or fancier per se. Those are probably my go-tos. I eat a lot of chips and salsa. Chefs unfortunately don't have the most normal eating habits because during normal eating times we're cooking, and then a lot of times we're either eating really late lunch or a really late dinner.
Yeah. So with your 3 kids, is there anything special they like for you to make for them, or do each of them have something special?
They're all a little bit different. I mean, there's some things they love crawfish, they love oysters on the half shell, but they love Asian food, so if we cook Chinese food, or we make a lot of sushi at home, like little hand rolls, things like that. So those are some of the things that they probably prefer, but then they also don't like things that I think should be completely normal. So it's just kind of, you never know.
Do they enjoy coming to eat at your restaurants and getting to see their dad in action?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I try really hard to try to find that balance of being a parent and being a dad, and but having them understand how hard and much of a sacrifice running a restaurant and being a chef is, because it is a pretty demanding job, and we're sacrificing a lot of what we do in our personal life so that we can entertain and host people in their personal life. And so I think we've done a fairly good job of that.
That sounds great. So when people come in, what is something they really look forward to when coming to your restaurant that it's known at all of them?
I think more than anything, it's our flavors are bold, they're strong, they're kind of very aggressive flavors. We make all of our own pasta in-house, and so for here it would be our signature dishes are the fresh pulled mozzarella or the classic bolognese, maybe our Nutella dessert. And so those are some of the things that people have the tendency to probably order a little bit more than the others.
So what really inspires you and motivates you to keep doing what you're doing, even though it can be stressful at times?
I think for me, it's just knowing that we're providing experiences for guests. And when you see clients that have been coming to you year after year, or 10 years, or when somebody says, "Oh, I had the best meal of my life at your restaurant 15 years ago," that's what keeps you inspired and keeps you going and pushing, because you just want to continue to give those experiences to the guests. It's a very rewarding business when you can, we all eat every day, but when you can take something that people do every day and make it stand out or make it special for them or memorable, I think that's pretty inspiring.
Is there any location that you like working at the most, at any of your restaurants?
I would say I always say I like to work at the restaurant that's the busiest. I love working. Here at Trey is great. I love working the pasta station because it's kind of a very romantic type of cooking. Of taking something so simple as flour and water and turning it into something spectacular. We have a restaurant, Jardine, which is kind of a Mediterranean-inspired restaurant, which is a lot of fun, and the flavors are real bold flavors from Turkey and Morocco, Spain, Italy. So those are right now kind of 2 of my more favorite places.
Have you, since you're grown so fast, have you been on any shows or showcased anywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done quite a bit of TV. So I've done. I was on a show called Iron Chef Gauntlet, which is probably the most well-known show that I've done. I've done Beat Bobby Flay. I've done stuff with Andrew Zimmern, Street Eats. Somebody just asked me this the other day. We've done a lot of local TV, so I've done a lot of national, Food Network type of stuff, which is great. It's a fun experience. It's fun to just get out there and kind of cook for fun, because at the end of the day, those competition shows, even though it's a competition, you get to cook for fun. There's no real pressure of, disappointing a guest that's paying. So I think I've always kind of been a natural in front of a camera, so for me it was more about just go in and have fun and don't put any pressure on yourself. And I'm uber competitive, so for me it's you go in there and you try to win, and at the end of the day, if you don't win, that's okay. You you got a free trip somewhere, you had a good time, you met a lot of really great people, and then you get to come back home and, you know, get back to what we do best anyways, which is take care of the guests that are sitting right in front of you.
Was your family excited for you, or did they say anything?
Oh, absolutely.
About it?
They loved it. I mean, I think that that's probably the thing more than anything that my kids probably enjoyed, you know, because, you know, they'd be like, you know, especially my two youngest kids. I mean, you know, you can imagine like my high school daughter's like, oh, please, Dad, like you're on TV, you know, but, you know, the younger kids, I think, thought it was really cool. I cooked for President Obama. I've cooked for Joe Biden. I've cooked for countless celebrities, Spurs players and things like that. And so that's the neat thing about our business is that, you know, I've been able to travel the world, meet a lot of really cool, fun people, and try to share those experiences that we want to enjoy ourselves in our restaurants, but for other people.
So have those experiences kind of helped you like think of what you can do different for your restaurants, or just seeing how they experience your food?
Not necessarily. I feel like for me, I don't get caught up in the celebrity side of it. Like they're just like we are, and to be quite honest with you, they want to be treated just like anybody else. And so when you treat them like anybody else that walks in the door, it just gives them an even better experience because they're so used to people flipping out or freaking out, or, you know, and at the end of the day, they just want to come in and eat dinner like anybody else.
Okay. Are there any families that like stick around with your restaurants just because they love it so much?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got people that I've got people that, you know, that didn't have kids when I met them that now have grandkids, you know, and so, you know, I think that's a really neat part of being able to build long-lasting relationships and meeting new people, but also kind of being able to grow up with those people at the same time. And a lot of customers end up becoming really great friends, you know, and that's outside of work, which I think is pretty neat as well.
Okay, so it's pretty important just for students watching this to know that like your passion for work can also turn into great bonds and friendships with the people you're with. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, our restaurant group is pretty broad and expansive in the sense that we have a lot of different concepts. So, you know, Tre Trattoria is Northern Italian, very focused on the Tuscan region of Italy. Jardine, like we just talked about, it's a brand new restaurant. It's only been open about 5 weeks. It's kind of foods from all over the Mediterranean. So it's got Turkish, Moroccan, it's got Spanish, it's got Italian influence. It's kind of the whole Mediterranean basin. We've got some barbecue joints. So we've got that casual Texas barbecue. We've got Two Brothers Barbecue Market on West Avenue, Alamo Barbecue off of East Grayson by the Pearl. We have a restaurant in Austin called Chispas, which is kind of like a little taqueria. B&D Ice House in Southtown. Range, which is a steakhouse down on the Riverwalk. So we've got a little bit of everything. I think what I would say my message to students, whether you're going into, the great thing about the culinary field is that it's so broad and so expansive and you can go so many different directions, but you can still find your passion and your niche. And it's really an industry more than a lot that if you just get in there and you have passion for it and you work your tail off, it can take you so many different places and expand the world and expand the world and expand the world. You know, I know that when I was in high school, I was a very, very picky eater. And, you know, now I've traveled the world trying foods from all over, you know, and so, which I think is the neatest part, you know.
Yeah.